Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories.
I've lived in my condo for 20 years now. It's not perfect, far from it actually. The place is a bit of a money pit with its creaky floors, drafty windows, and the occasional leaky pipe. But it's home. I love the neighborhood, the tree-lined streets, the way the sunlight filters through the leaves in the summer. And my neighbors, they're like family. We've shared barbecues, holiday parties, and even the occasional late-night chat over a glass of wine. But lately there's been one thing that's been driving me up the wall. The HOA. Every year without fail our HOA fees go up. It's always something: aging building issues, property security, maintenance on the pool and hot tub, landscaping. You name it, they've found a way to charge us for it. And every year, like clockwork, the property manager sends out a spreadsheet with the updated fees for the new year. This year, it landed in my inbox on December 27th. December 27th, that's a tight deadline to update our payments, which are due on January 1st. But I'm nothing if not diligent, so I updated my payment right away. Or so I thought. A few days later, I was out walking my dog Max, when I ran into my neighbor, Linda. She's one of those people who always knows everything that's going on in the neighborhood. She's the kind of person who can tell you who's dating whom, who's thinking of selling their condo, and who's been sneaking their dog into the pool area after hours. "Hey, did you see the email from the property manager?" Linda asked, adjusting her scarf against the chilly winter air. "Yeah, I updated my payment already," I said, tugging on Max's leash as he tried to sniff a particularly interesting patch of grass. "Well, you might want to double-check it," Linda said, lowering her voice like she was sharing some kind of state secret. "There was a mistake on the spreadsheet. We actually owe $161.64, not $161.63. I blinked at her. "A penny? They're coming after us for a penny," Linda shrugged. "You know how they are. Rules are rules." I sighed and thanked her for the heads up. When I got home, I logged into my account and updated my payment again. But here's the thing, my autopay had already been sent for January 1st. So now, according to my account, I'm all paid up except for 1 cent. 1 single cent. At first, I didn't think much of it. I mean, it's a penny, right? How much trouble could I possibly get into over a penny? But then I started thinking about the HOA board. They're not exactly known for their sense of humor. I could just see them sending me a sternly worded letter, demanding payment for that 1 cent, or worse, slapping me with a late fee or some kind of penalty. I decided to call the property manager, a woman named Karen, to explain the situation. Karen's one of those people who always sounds like she's on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Her voice is perpetually strained, like she's just one missed deadline away from losing it completely. "Hi Karen, it's me," I said when she picked up the phone. "I just wanted to let you know that there was a mistake on the spreadsheet, and I updated my payment, but my autopay had already gone through, so now I'm short by a penny." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "A penny," Karen finally said, her voice tight. "Yeah, just 1 cent. I can bring it by the office if you want," I offered, trying to sound cheerful. "I'll have to check with the board," Karen said, her tone clipped. "They're very strict about these things." "It's a penny," I repeated, hoping she'd see the absurdity of the situation. "I'll get back to you," Karen said, and then she hung up. That was a week ago, and I haven't heard back from her since. But the more I think about it, the more I start to imagine all the ways this could go wrong. What if they decide to make an example out of me? What if they start charging me interest on that penny? What if they take me to court over it? I've started brainstorming creative ways to settle up this outstanding balance. Maybe I'll tape a penny to a piece of paper and mail it to them with a note that says, "Keep the change." Or maybe I'll show up at the next HOA meeting and hand it to them in person, just to make a point. Or better yet, maybe I'll pay it in installments, 1/4 of a cent every quarter, just to keep them on their toes. But the truth is, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And that's what's driving me crazy. It's not about the money, it's about the principle of the thing. I've lived here for 20 years. I've paid my dues on time, every time. I've attended the meetings, voted on the issues, and even volunteered to help with the annual neighborhood cleanup. And now, because of a 1 cent mistake, I'm worried that all of that could be for nothing. I brought it up to my neighbor Tom the other day. Tom's been living here even longer than I have, and he's seen it all when it comes to the HOA. "You're worried about a penny?" Tom asked, raising an eyebrow as he sipped his coffee. "They're not going to do anything over a penny. You don't know that," I said, pacing back and forth in his kitchen. "They could come after me. They could fine me. They could." "They're not going to fine you over a penny," Tom interrupted, setting his mug down on the counter. Relax, you're overthinking this, but I can't relax. Every time I check my mailbox, I half expect to find a letter from the HOA demanding payment for that 1 cent. Every time my phone rings, I worry it's Karen, calling to tell me that the board has decided to take action. And every time I walk past the pool or the hot tub, I can't help but think about how much money I've poured into this place over the years, and how it all might come down to a single penny. I've even started dreaming about it. Last night, I had a dream that the HOA board showed up at my door dressed in black robes like some kind of judicial counsel. They handed me a scroll with a long list of charges, all stemming from that 1 cent debt. I tried to explain myself, but they just shook their heads and said, "Rules are rules." I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding. It's just a penny, I told myself. It's just a penny. But deep down, I know it's not just about the penny. It's about the principle. It's about the fact that I've done everything right, and yet I'm still at the mercy of a system that seems to care more about rules than about the people who live here. And so I wait. I wait for Karen to call me back. I wait for the letter to arrive in the mail. I wait for the other shoe to drop. And in the meantime, I keep brainstorming ways to settle up that 1 cent debt, just in case. Maybe I'll pay it in pennies, one by one over the course of a year. Maybe I'll set up a GoFundMe to raise the money. Or maybe, just maybe, I'll let it ride and see what happens. After all, it's just a penny. But as I sit here, staring at my computer screen and refreshing my email for the 100th time, I can't help but wonder, what if it's not just a penny? What if it's the start of something bigger? What if this 1 cent debt is the thing that finally pushes me over the edge? Only time will tell. And until then, I'll be here, waiting and worrying, and wondering how something so small could feel so big. I did something similar to a company that charged me some ridiculous petty fee. I wrote them a check for 5 cents too much and never did any further transactions with them. That 5-cent overpayment was on my account for about 18 months while they tried to get me to do more transactions with them. This was before online transactions and electronic statements, so every month they had to mail a paper statement. The postage alone was far more than 5 cents. Eventually, they wrote me a check for 5 cents and closed the account. I never cashed the check, so the outstanding check for 5 cents had to be included in every bank reconciliation they did for several more years before being written off. I was in Okinawa back in '03, and part of coming back was making sure your phone bill was paid. Phone company signed off I was paid in full. Got the stamp and the letter, turned both into my command, and boom, I had seat on the Freedom Bird. A year later, I got a certified letter from the company stating I owed them 4 yen. Less than 4 pennies. It was printed on nice paper and a heavy-duty envelope. International postage was insane. But they just had to have that 4 yen, cost them way more to recover. It is the Japanese way. Got a hold of an old until buddy and he paid it. Said next round was on me next time I saw him. Never did see him again. Don't be a jerk and just email them and ask if it's okay to add the 1 cent to next year's bill. Do you have a management company or self-managed? Can you give the board member a penny if self-managed? I've worked for a property management company for over 15 years in accounts and work in accounts receivable and collections, and it's extremely exhausting dealing with people that want to be a jerk or petty just because. Some of us are just trying to do our job to earn a paycheck to be able to pay our bills. We're not all the enemy. A little kindness and understanding goes a long way. Even if you hate HOAs and boards and property management companies, we're not all out here trying to be jerks. I promise. You wouldn't want someone being a jerk to you and tormenting you for fun while you're trying to do your job.
If you like our stories, then please like and subscribe and comment, and remember to hit that bell icon so you never miss out. We have new stories almost every day.
It all started when I sold my house in mid-2024. I thought I was done with the place. New job, new city, new life. The closing went smoothly, or so I thought. The buyers seemed nice, the paperwork was signed, and I walked away with a check in hand. But then, right at the end, the HOA hit me with a $125 fee, just to change the name on the account. $125 for what amounted to a few keystrokes on a computer. I remember standing there, staring at the closing agent, my jaw practically on the floor. $125 for what? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. The agent, a woman in her 50s with a practiced smile, shrugged. It's standard procedure. The HOA charges a fee to update their records. Standard procedure, I repeated, my voice rising. It takes them 30 seconds to type in a new name. This is a shakedown. She gave me a sympathetic look, but it didn't help. I'm sorry, but it's in the contract. You agreed to it when you bought the property. I wanted to argue, but what could I do? I signed the papers, handed over the check, and walked out of the office feeling like I'd just been robbed. Still, I told myself it was over. I was free. No more HOA, no more rules about what color I could paint my front door or how tall my grass could be. I was hundreds of miles away, starting fresh. Or so I thought. The first bill arrived in January 2025. I was sitting at my kitchen table in my new house, sipping coffee and flipping through the mail. Bills, ads, junk. The usual. Then I saw it, a crisp white envelope with the HOA's logo in the corner. My stomach dropped. No way, I muttered, tearing it open. Sure enough, it was a bill for the 2025 HOA dues. For the property I no longer owned. I stared at it, my coffee forgotten. The amount wasn't small, several $100s, and the due date was fast approaching. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the note at the bottom. Late fees will be applied if payment is not received by the due date. Asterisk. I grabbed my phone and called the HOA office. It rang 3 times before someone picked up. Hello, this is Karen with the HOA. How can I help you? Hi Karen, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I just got a bill for 2025 HOA dues, but I sold the property in 2024. I don't own it anymore. There was a pause on the other end. Let me check the records, Karen said. I heard the clack of a keyboard. It looks like the property is still listed under your name. That's impossible, I said. I sold it. The new owners took over in July 2024. I paid your ridiculous $125 fee to change the name on the account. Remember, another pause. I see the fee was paid, but the name wasn't updated. I'll have to look into this. Look into it, I repeated. You sent me a bill for a property I don't own. This isn't my problem. Fix it. I understand your frustration, Karen said, her tone annoyingly calm. I'll escalate this to our records department. It should be resolved soon. Soon turned out to be a relative term. A week later, I got another bill. This one had a late fee tacked on. I called again, and this time I got a different person. Hi, this is Mike. How can I help you? I've already called about this, I said, my patience wearing thin. I sold my property in 2024, but you're still sending me bills. I don't own the house anymore. Why is this so hard to fix? Mike sighed. I'm sorry, sir. It looks like there was a mix-up in the records department. I'll make sure it's corrected. You said that last time, I snapped. And yet here's another bill with a late fee for a property I don't own. I understand, Mike said. I'll personally see to it that this is resolved. I hung up, feeling uneasy. This was starting to feel like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I thought about calling the new owners, but what would I say? Hey, the HOA is harassing me because they can't figure out you own the house now. It wasn't their problem. It was mine. The bills kept coming. Every month, like clockwork, a new envelope would arrive. Each one had a higher balance thanks to the late fees piling up. I called the HOA office so many times I lost count. Every time, I got the same runaround. We're working on it. It's being escalated. It should be resolved soon, but it never was. I started to wonder if they were doing it on purpose. Maybe they thought I'd just give up and pay. Fat chance. I wasn't giving them another dime. Then in March, I got a letter that made my blood boil. It wasn't a bill this time. It was a notice of intent to file a lien on the property. My hands shook as I read it. They were threatening to put a lien on a house I didn't even own. I called the HOA office again, but this time I didn't bother being polite. What the hell is this? I demanded as soon as someone answered. You're trying to put a lien on a property I sold almost a year ago? Are you kidding me? Sir, please calm down, the woman on the other end said. Let me check the records. Don't tell me to calm down, I shot back. This is insane. I've called you people a dozen times. I've told you over and over that I don't own the property. And now you're threatening me with a lien? How is this legal? I'm sorry, sir, she said, her voice tight. I'll escalate this to our legal department. You do that, I said. And while you're at it, tell them I'm not paying a cent. Not 1 cent, I hung up, my heart pounding. This was getting out of hand. I thought about hiring a lawyer, but the idea of spending thousands of dollars to fight a few hundred in bogus fees made me sick. Still, I couldn't just let this go. They were threatening to ruin my credit, to tie up a property I no longer owned in legal red tape. It wasn't right. The next few months were a blur of phone calls, letters, and frustration. The HOA kept sending bills and I kept throwing them away. But the notices kept coming, late fees, warnings, threats of liens. I started to dread checking the mail. Every envelope felt like a ticking time bomb. Then in June I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pit up. "Hello? Hi, is this Mr. Johnson?" a man's voice asked. "Yes," I said cautiously. "This is Mark Stevens, the new owner of your old property. I just got a notice from the HOA about unpaid dues. They're saying there's a lien on the house." I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. "Yeah, I've been getting those too. They've been billing me for the 2025 dues even though I sold the house to you last year." "This is ridiculous," Mark said. "I've been paying the dues on time. Why are they coming after you?" "Because they can't get their act together," I said. "I've called them 1,000,000 times, but they keep saying they're working on it. Meanwhile, they're threatening to put a lien on the house." Mark sighed. "This is a mess. I'll call them too. Maybe if we both keep hounding them, they'll finally fix it." "Good luck," I said. "Let me know if you get anywhere." We hung up, and I felt a small glimmer of hope. Maybe with both of us pushing, the HOA would finally do something. But deep down, I knew better. This wasn't going to be resolved anytime soon. As the months dragged on, the situation only got worse. The HOA sent more notices, each one more threatening than the last. Mark called a few times to update me, but it was always the same story. The HOA kept giving him the runaround too. It was like dealing with a brick wall. By the end of the year, I was exhausted. I'd spent hours on the phone, written countless emails, and even sent a certified letter to the HOA's legal department. But nothing changed. The bills kept coming, the threats kept escalating, and I was no closer to a resolution. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to fight, to take them to court and make them pay for their incompetence. But another part of me just wanted to walk away, to forget the whole thing and move on with my life. The problem was I couldn't. The HOA had dragged me into their mess, and I was stuck. As I sat at my kitchen table staring at yet another bill, I couldn't help but laugh. It was either that or cry. The idea of them putting a lien on a property I didn't own was almost funny. Almost. But the reality was anything but. This wasn't just about money. It was about principle. And I wasn't going to let them win, not yet anyway. Would not throw their letter in the trash. It could be evidence for another case if they are also billing the new owner, but also they could try to hit you with a lawsuit just to be spiteful, and make you pay court costs to prove you don't own them money. At the very least, I would hire an attorney to send a cease and desist letter to the HOA to call them out on this, send a copy to the current homeowner, and file a notice with the county attorney, so their shenanigans are out in the open. Not sure about other areas, but in mine, HOAs are not in a database that's easy to access. MLS is all we have, and it's not always updated when the covenants change or HOAs are formed in new developments. In fact, I can't even find contact info for most of them, and there are many small neighborhoods that may or may not have some type of HOA. If it's a major concern for the buyer, I'll look into it for them. But I've found out there was some form of HOA in areas I didn't even know had them at all. The bigger subdivisions are easier to keep track of because you encounter listings there so often, but there are many smaller subdivisions that technically have HOAs. Usually those aren't very active and probably aren't the overbearing baddies that make people hate HOAs in general. There is a question on the seller's disclosure about it. That's what OP should rely on. And if the seller lied, it's on them, not the agent. The realtor's mistake was not presenting the disclosure before he made the offer, unless OP signed it without reading it, which is just as likely IMO. Not necessarily a malicious act from the buyer's agent. The seller fills out the property disclosure and would have to mention the HOA. The HOA, fees and bylaws should have also been present on the listing posted by the seller's agent. This would have to be read and signed by the buyer before an offer is placed. If the HOA isn't on the paperwork, none of that shit is valid. It's considered fraud on the seller's end.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.